My parents kicked me out because of my sister's lie. Then she ended up in the ER. I was 23 years old when my father told me to get out of his house. No warning. No proper conversation. Just, get out. You are no longer my son. I stood there for a full minute thinking he would take it back. He didn't. I picked up whatever I could fit in one bag and walked out. And the worst part, I still didn't fully understand what I had done wrong. Let me take you back to where this started. I have one sister, Hira. She's 2 years younger than me. Growing up we were close, or at least I thought we were. She was always the favorite. Softer, quieter, more emotional. My parents melted for her completely. Whatever Hira said, they believed. Whatever Hira wanted, she got. I was the older one. I was supposed to be strong, responsible, sorted. There was no room for me to be vulnerable or make mistakes. Looking back now, I can see exactly how the dynamic worked. But at 23, I was just living my life. That time I had a close friend. Lol. We had been friends since school. He used to come to our house often. My parents knew him, liked him. What I didn't know was that Hira had developed feelings for Bilal. And Bilal didn't feel the same way. When Hira realized he wasn't interested, something shifted in her. I don't know if it was embarrassment or anger or something else, but she made a decision that changed my life completely. She went to my parents and told them a lie. She said that I had found out about her feelings for Bilal and that I had told Bilal to stay away from her. That I had humiliated her in front of him. That I had laughed at her. That I had called her desperate behind her back. None of it was true. Not a single word. My parents didn't ask me for my side. My father called me into the room, listed everything Hira had said, and before I could even open my mouth, he told me I was a disgrace. That I had humiliated my own sister. That a brother who does this has no place in this house. I tried to speak. He raised his hand and pointed at the door. My mother was sitting right there. She said nothing. I looked at Hira. She looked at the floor. And that was it. The first few months after leaving were brutal. I had some savings, not much. I stayed with Bilal for a few weeks, which felt humiliating in its own way considering he was at the center of everything. Then I rented a small room and focused entirely on work. I cut off all contact with my family. Not out of anger, out of self-protection. Every time a relative called to sort things out, they were really just calling to tell me to apologize. To go back and say sorry for something I never did. I refused every time. People called me stubborn, arrogant, disrespectful. Nobody called Hira a liar. Time passed. 1 year. 2 years. 3. Got better at my job. Moved to a slightly bigger place. Built a small routine. On the outside I looked completely fine. On the inside, there was this constant low-level pain that never fully went away. Not just because of my parents, but because of Hira. I kept thinking about that moment when I looked at her and she looked at the floor. She knew exactly what she had done. And she let it happen anyway. That was the part one couldn't get over. Therefore, a cousin of mine, someone who was still in contact with both sides, reached out to me. Not to mediate, just to talk. We met for chai. He told me things were not good at home. My father's health had declined. My mother was stressed. And Hira, he paused when he said her name. Hira was not doing well either. She had gotten into a relationship that everyone in the family disapproved of. There had been a lot of fighting at home. She had become withdrawn, isolated. I listened. I didn't say much. I wasn't happy about any of it. But I also wasn't ready to go back. Then came the phone call. 5 years after the day I walked out of that house, my mother called me. It was 2 a.m. I saw her name on the screen and my heart stopped for a second. In 5 years she had never called. Not once. Picked up. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. Hira is in the hospital. Please come. Please. I want to be honest about what happened in my head in that moment. There was a part of me, and I'm not proud of this, that thought, why should I go? 5 years. No call. No apology. No acknowledgement of what happened. And now, at 2 a.m. I'm supposed to just show up? I sat on the edge of my bed for about 3 minutes. Then I picked up my keys and left. When I got to the hospital, my mother was in the corridor outside the ER. She looked like she had aged 10 years. When she saw me, she broke down completely. She grabbed my arm and just kept saying, "You came, you came." My father was sitting on a chair nearby. He looked up when I walked in. We made eye contact for the first time in 5 years. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. But something passed between us in that look. I don't know how to describe it exactly. Relief, maybe. On both sides. I asked the doctor what had happened. Hira had taken too many sleeping pills. It wasn't fully clear yet whether it was accidental or intentional. She was stable, but they were monitoring her closely. I sat down in that corridor and stayed there until morning. Hira was kept in the hospital for 2 days. On the second day, she was moved to a regular room. When I walked in, she was awake. She looked at me and immediately started crying. I pulled a chair and sat next to her bed. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "I'm sorry. I've wanted to say that for 5 years. I'm sorry for what I did to you." I didn't say it's okay. 'Cause it wasn't okay. But I said, "I know." And I meant it as, "I know you're sorry. I know you've been carrying this." No. That was enough for that moment. The road after that was not a movie. There was no dramatic family reunion scene. No big emotional moment where everything was forgiven and forgotten. My father and I spoke properly for the first time about a week later. It was uncomfortable and slow. He didn't fully apologize. He said things like, "We should have handled it differently," which is as close to sorry as he knows how to get. My mother apologized more directly. She said she should have spoken up that day. That she knew something wasn't right, but she stayed quiet. That one hurt almost as much as the original incident. But I chose to move forward. Not because what happened was okay. But because I was tired of carrying it alone. And because, at the end of the day, watching my mother cry in that hospital corridor at 2 a.m. did something to me that I can't fully explain. Hira and I talk now. Slowly, carefully. We're not close the way siblings sometimes are. Probably never will be again. But there's a basic human connection there that I chose not to completely destroy. She's getting help. Therapy. She's doing better. And me. I'm okay. Actually okay, not just on the outside. Here's what I took from all of this. People who hurt you are not always evil. Sometimes they're just weak at a critical moment. That doesn't make it right. But it changes how you carry it. And showing up, even when you have every reason not to, that says something about who you are. Not about them. I showed up that night for me as much as for anyone else. Because I didn't want to be someone who lets a person die over an old argument. That's not the person I want to be. What does this story teach you? Tell us in the comments. And if this story seems important to someone, send it now.